Okay. We are going to call the meeting to order. Today is just a work session because we currently don't have a quorum of members present. So therefore, we will not be voting for the approval of minutes from last month's meeting. We'll just put that off until next month's meeting. We can discuss upcoming and future events. The Boy Scouts are coming for a tour on April 2nd. I met with Jack Sheehan today, one of our volunteers. He was formerly a volunteer for 10 or 15 years at the Heinz History Center as a docent. So he did a lot of tour development for school kids, and he came in and met with me today and has a lot of fantastic ideas about a presentation he's going to put together for the Boy Scouts, or sorry, the Cub Scouts coming on April 2nd. So I'll meet again with him probably before that happens, but he and I will be there on April 2nd to meet with the Cub Scouts.
Is that a Saturday?
Our volunteer?
Yeah, what's his name?
Jack Sheehan.
Oh, Jack Sheehan.
Oh,
Yes, it's a Saturday. So there's about nine boys in the a troop? A pack? The pack. And sometimes the leader said that sometimes some of their siblings come. And so I'm not sure how many parents will be in attendance then too, but I think it's going to be really great. And I would like to see more of those sorts of things happen, but that's for a later bullet point. We also have the North Park presentation coming up on April 27th at 7 p.m. Dawn reached out to Deglin McManus, who is the, what is his title? Do you remember that? He's a park
He's a
ranger.
park ranger. I don't know that he has an official title,
Okay.
title beyond that.
Okay, yeah, he's gonna come and do a presentation on the history of North Park. Don said that he had seen it and it was
Yeah,
fantastic.
right.
So
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to that also.
What's that date again? I'm sorry.
Wednesday, April 27th,
I'm very interested.
and that's at 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
So he sent me some pictures and a brief blurb about what the presentation will be. So I was going to make up a flyer. And when I do, I will send that to everyone and then also send it to Deglin so he can advertise within the park service as well. So the next event after that would be our May events for the golf outing and the anniversary weekend events. But Joe is not here to give us an update on that. But as far as I know, everything is still in motion to have that golf outing on Friday, May 20th. And then we have just touched on the anniversary weekend on celebration on that Saturday, the 21st, but haven't really come up with any firm plans yet. So maybe for our next April meeting, we should really get on the ball with ideas on that. Okay, anybody else have any future upcoming events they'd like to?
yeah, but can I just ask one question? John, could you put in the town crier about the April 27th?
Oh, yeah, I can definitely put that. It's probably gonna be the next mail. It's gonna go on the website, Facebook,
Okay.
all that stuff.
Great.
Because
It
this,
gets a little closer.
because I think this would be a, just having already seen it, really interesting. I think that the more people we can get there, it'd be a big
Definitely.
plus for us. So,
Yeah,
Hey, Abby,
yeah.
one more thing, and I don't know if this is a future event and what it looks like, but a couple of weeks ago, I saw an article in the paper about a new book on Westview Park. So I reached out to the author, and he and I are going to have a discussion about what that looks like and just see how we're interested in collaborating. So that might be
Oh, wow.
something that turns
Yeah.
into like a future speaking event or something that we can collaborate with him on. I think he didn't even
Okay.
know we had materials from Westview Park, so he's excited to see what we have too.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
Oh,
Really
great.
great.
Yeah, book signing. would be
Right,
good.
right.
There you go.
All right. John, should we go back and vote now?
We can finish this section, then we can vote.
Okay, I think we're finished on number 3, upcoming and future events. Hi.
Sorry,
Good, how are you?
sorry, I'm late.
Oh, that's okay. Did everyone have an opportunity to read the minutes from our last meeting in February? Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Does anyone have any changes or notes? No, okay. A vote to approve the minutes from February 16th,
I
2022.
so move.
Second,
All in favor?
I,
The motion passes. Okay. Future events, Joe, did you have any pertinent information regarding the golf outing?
Well, just what I shared with you over the weekend, we are required to carry a insurance certificate for the Williams family over there at the par three. So I spoke with Bob and I have to get the particulars from Mr. Williams of how they want it written as a co-insured.
Okay. And when would you anticipate that we would open up purchases of the tickets and things like that?
It's probably gonna be April 1st.
April 1st,
Yeah.
okay. And is there anything that we need to do as a group to make that happen?
We've got pretty much everything under control.
Okay,
To be honest with you, I think we're gonna be open enrollment for this thing for about 8 hours.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of people that want to do it.
good.
So I'm excited about it.
And how are we registering for it? Like, are people gonna have to sign up through you or
Yeah,
the?
they're gonna sign up through me.
Okay,
But we've sent out stuff to the churches
okay,
because Trish had mentioned that before. We sent out stuff to each of the churches in the area. We sent out stuff to the different community groups,
Mhm.
as well as the athletic associations, telling them that we were having this fundraiser. The cost of the tickets are going to be $100 a piece.
okay,
And then what's going to happen is we have asked, we have 18 spots available for T sponsors at $200 a piece.
okay.
Container.
Toby,
Hello,
I think your camera's off, but your audio is still on.
oh, you heard me whispering, yeah. I raked a lot of leaves, I was telling Georgette.
uh-oh.
We're proud
I'm
of
not
you.
donating them, they're mine.
I did want to mention, as far as that's concerned, Dick's Sporting Goods is giving every participant a door prize.
And how many participants?
There's going to
Is it
be
open?
72 registered golfers.
72, okay. All right,
Now, I still have to get the final number from the people over at Tomato Pie and Rico's because they're going to cater it and do a spaghetti dinner prior to. I have to double check with Bob and with the solicitor if we need to do a rider to the insurance because there was thought that we would have beer
mhm,
at the par three
mhm.
for the golf outing. So I got one, I have to do a little bit more work on that to find out where we stand on that. And Toby, you may be able to answer that for me.
Whenever we had firefighter outings, we had about 19 or 20 of those up at Lakeview North Golf Course. I would think that there was a keg or two or three up there. I don't we didn't get any kind of permit, but we may have fallen under the auspices of the Lakeview because they have a restaurant there under their liquor license. So I guess it's better just to see what today's world says with the current solicitor.
Well, what I'll do is I'll reach out to Steve Corbel, who is the solicitor for the
You shouldn't go to
township.
him directly. You shouldn't go to him directly. Let John or Bob do that.
Go through
please.
John or Bob. Okay.
Yeah, please. Yeah, let staff handle that.
Okay. Well, I think that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it sounds
We-
great.
We had talked right before you got here about the anniversary weekend, that same weekend, the golf outing, and then the Saturday events, and that our next April meeting should come with some firm ideas on what to do on that Saturday.
Well, I mean, it's gonna take more than one person.
Yes.
Because we have, you have, basically you have a bunch of different organizations that could be involved that weekend.
Okay.
One being the McCandless Athletic Association, because they're gonna be playing games on the fields all day long,
Oh, that's right.
okay? Like I said before, we could have somebody reach out to the North Allegheny Athletic Department, because usually during that time of year, they do a 3-on-3 basketball tournament to raise money. And that could be right here on the playground.
Mhm.
So, it's gonna take some coordination, and I mean, I'm willing to step up and do it, but right now I got my hands full with Friday nights.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay,
You just might want to keep an eye on it, Joe, from, 20,000 feet and get some, some good people that are gonna, that have, handled the table and the registration, that kind of thing.
Well, the thing of it is, Toby, you know what? I will chair the weekend because, I certainly know enough people that I could tap people on the shoulder and get them involved. Especially when you're talking about the youth organizations, I almost think like we ought to have booths, like the garden clubs, the local Kiwanis, even people like, our state representatives or our county representatives. This is a great opportunity, not just for the Heritage Center and celebrating the 5 years, but it's a great opportunity to once again get our community together. If you look at the things that we've done over the course of the last 2 years, first night has been a huge success. The Christmas thing has been a huge success. And it really dictates to the fact that our constituency, whether you're a township council person or you're even on the Heritage Board, our constituency is just begging for community events like this. So I'll be the chair.
would anyone like to help
Oh, I'll give you a hand.
coordinate?
I mean,
I'd appreciate Don.
I've been with MCAA for 10 years.
Okay. Okay, so Dawn and Joe. Okay. Anything else regarding that at this point?
No, I think we'll probably get together right after this and start talking about some things.
Okay, so that brings us to operational updates. The McCandless portrait was finally hung in the Heritage Center this past week. Yay, as was the bronze plaque of Joe Bullock. We hung that in the entryway with the other photographs of, well, I guess they're documents of like the founding documents of why it was built and some of the people involved with breaking ground and things like that. So Joe is hanging in the entryway and Judge McCandless as a baby is inside. So
He's
it's
a pretty little
he
kid.
is. It's a beautiful painting. It really is.
He had hair like I did when I was little.
I reached out to a former colleague of mine who's a collections manager at an art museum to ask some advice on how we can maintain the painting because it is 200 years old. The frame is in fragile condition at best. So depending on what his recommendation would be, I would think we would need to build some sort of plan in the budget for, preservation or I don't know that restoration is necessary at this point, but just looking ahead, I would like to keep this in the best possible shape. Yes.
Here's the other point. And that painting is priceless.
Mhm.
Absolutely priceless. We have to find a way to protect.
Yeah.
And I don't mean with just an access control keypad getting into the center. We need to figure out a way to secure that
Okay,
in a more permanent way, whether that be cameras, whether that be, and you know what, it's not expensive to put cameras
No,
in.
no,
So, and you know what, even our insurance people from the township would tell us to do that.
Mm.
It would
Yeah.
probably be cheaper for our insurance.
That
to be
was my
honest.
I'm sure there
second
would be something
point
in
that
there, yeah.
I don't know if we need some sort of appraisal to get a monetary value on it, John, or if it came with that.
I don't think it came with any monetary value, but
Okay. I did also reach out to the gallery that it came from in Boston. There was a tag on the back of the painting that had a name of a gallery. I just reached out to them via email to see if they knew any more information about the painting when it passed through their hands, or if they suspect who the artist may be, because it does say that it's unknown. So I haven't heard anything back from them yet either, but yeah, once I reach out to my contact and or make contact with my person, I'll let you know what he
And, you
recommends.
know, just to that point, that's not the only very valuable thing that we
Right,
have in
right.
our collection.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
It's probably the oldest thing. That's why.
there's no doubt.
Yeah,
But there are other things that are in there that don't belong to us, that
Mhm.
we need to protect.
That's
very
true.
true.
That's true.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
And
Another
like-
thing we should,
Go
oh,
ahead.
sorry. No, I was
No.
gonna say, the only thing we should probably look at too is I know our core documents do include an emergency management plan, but it was from the original Joe Bullock collection. We should probably revisit it to make sure that we have everything covered under there, especially considering new acquisitions. And I don't think, even though we have an emergency management plan, I don't think we ever sat down with either police or responding fire departments. And that might be a good thing to do too, because we'll want to know if there's ever a fire, some sort of natural disaster that happens. Whoever goes in there is going to have to know what are the most important things that need to go out of there in an emergency.
Right. Okay.
and that may be a good forward.
Where would we find this emergency management plan? John?
It is in the documents that you.
Yeah.
Online?
So, yeah,
Oh, really?
think
Okay.
of it, yeah.
Yep. And I'm happy to help with that. I've done a couple emergency management plans.
Okay.
As have I.
Okay, so the McCandless portrait and the Joe plaque are hung. There was also an unused letterboard in the basement that I hung in the vestibule also as our interim informational sign. So that will have any upcoming events and our hours of operation on them for our visitors. You can also probably peek in the doors when we're closed to see what the information says. So.
You know, all this stuff may be a great foray into what we're working on.
Yeah, yeah. The hat show is up and it looks fantastic. Thank you, Georgette and Suzanne, and all of you who donated or loaned hats to the show. It's really good looking. I'm very proud of it. So
Where'd you find the top hat? Who gave the top hat?
Mary Jo Neff.
Really?
Yeah, she said it was her husband's. We couldn't tell.
Jack Neff had a top hat.
We couldn't. Are you talking about like the what? Oh yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I put it on and took a picture of myself. so.
We couldn't tell. We couldn't tell if it was like real or if it came from like the party store. I don't
You know
know.
what? It may have been a costume. of
Yeah,
some
that's what I
sort.
mean. But yeah,
I don't think he was, I don't think he was running carriages in New York City or anything like that.
but it's a conversation piece for sure.
Are we gonna see if we can get that take pictures and get it put in the paper so people know that it's there? It's such a nice looking exhibit.
John?
Yeah.
How do we get the word out?
I mean, Carolyn, is there anything up on the Heritage Center Facebook site so far than this?
I'll take a look. I didn't put anything up, but Diane might have. I know she at least promoted that the exhibit was going up and took a few pictures of the process of just everything being set up.
Mhm.
Okay.
But we can get something out.
I
Okay,
did
yeah, I mean, if
send
we want it, we can put it on our
pictures.
Facebook too.
I did send pictures to this group of it completed with some information and like a blurb. So
I don't think we want to give too much away.
what?
Well, we want people to come in and see it.
Oh, yes, of course.
Put all the
Yeah.
pictures.
Yeah.
But there's some really cute like 50s hats and it just,
Yeah.
they're different, you know, than most
Yeah.
people see.
What else? I've been making some office improvements over there. Also, I got a coat rack hung up. Public Works is coming back to hang a couple more shelves in the office. I finally got a wall calendar and a clock in there. I've organized the paperwork on the one wall, so every topic has a different clipboard. And so you can see what the papers are. I've been trying to clean up the library a little bit too. So if we can all make a concerted effort not to just dump miscellaneous things in the library, because they
Abby,
do.
what are we supposed to do with that? You know, there's, like you said, miscellaneous papers. I mean, if you add something to a book, is there an index in the beginning of the book that you would have to make sure that you know, fill out the index before you added the paper?
Amy, I'll refer to you on that.
Okay.
Some of them, yes, and some of them not yet.
Oh, okay.
So that was a project that Diane started as her internship when she was in library school. And she did a number of them. And then in addition to an index in each binder, then there's a master index as well that covers all of the binders. So there are multiple places where that would need to be updated.
Okay,
So,
if we see papers laying there or photographs and I know where to put it, it's Ingomar, you know. Can I put it in there? And
what Diane and I had been doing when we came across those is we were putting those like in the front pocket of the binder with the intention that someone would eventually go back and put them in, because the binders that have been organized, I believe, are in chronological order. So to try and determine, you know, where in the binder it would need to go, and then to be able to update that information. That's a great project that, you know, folks could be working on. I don't know, we can talk with
people
Diane.
look for things to do and you know.
Yeah, and I don't know if Diane's files are on the computer there on the laptop. I think they might be. That could be updated, you know, as things are, you know, added to the binders. But then every so often too, you know, when you update the index, you need to print it and put it, you know, refresh the pages that are in the binder as well.
Well, if there is a pocket there, I mean, at least it would get the pictures off of the table and into the correct book.
Right.
And then we can, you know, look through the books.
Yeah, and I thought Diane had worked on, I thought in her project that she had included instructions, because the idea was she created the scheme and the process, and the idea was that others, and we did have a volunteer at one point who was continuing some of that work, but I think there's sort of directions and instructions, but we can double check with Diane on that.
It's just something for people to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had the two volunteers, Claudia and Janice, who like to do accessioning. They were in today and started that process up again. Amy is still adding things to the object database on the laptop in the office, and we are still looking for Saturday volunteers for the first and third Saturdays of each month. So if anyone would be able to do that, it would be from 1 to 4, again, on the first and third Saturdays of the month. So
And I have the second Saturdays.
you have the second Saturday. Yeah. So,
You know, and I'll let you know
Okay.
tonight or tomorrow. I think I can take one of them.
okay, yeah, even if someone can take one, I mean, that'd be one less.
Because I spoke with Mary Jo Neff, and, you know, she's having her hip redone.
Mhm.
So I don't think she'll be gone long term, but
Okay.
it's gonna be for a little while.
Yeah, yeah. We do have April 2nd covered, because I'll be there with the Cub Scout troop, with Jack, so that should be fine. That gives us a little more time, but.
Do you need any more volunteers for that?
Yeah, maybe, I think Cheryl said she would come that day too, actually. But I mean, if you want to come along,
Yeah.
that'd be great
I
too.
might drop
I mean,
by.
it's nice to see. It'll be nice to have a group of kids in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Jack's gonna come up with a really great presentation for them. He was very excited with his proposal of content today, so I think it'll be a fun day. John sent me a list of the people who donated in the annual appeal from 2021. So I would like to put together a thank you letter for those people. And maybe send them some more information about our upcoming events, to make sure that they are up to date and they know that we appreciate their financial support. And I think that leads me to the other major goals that we would like to accomplish. Dan and Joe and I met over the weekend, and we came up with some goals that we would like to accomplish in 2022 to make the Heritage Center a bit more organized and not independent quite yet, but organized, let's say. So I came up with some proposed subcommittees for our FDPC group to head up. And unfortunately, Kevin and Diane aren't here today, but I made one for each of them also. For those of you on Zoom, I would like to do a marketing committee. Design and print an advertising pamphlet or rack card to put in other museums, historical societies, community centers, and libraries in the area. Price out advertising in local publications, contact newspapers, local magazines to write up features showcasing the Heritage Center. Here, Dawn, I'll give you this one too. Trish, do you want a copy? Right now, I know that we do have a trifold pamphlet, but it's really just the annual appeal with a donation slip on the back. So something a little more advertising and a little bit less financial appeal is what I was thinking with that. The second thing would be a library subcommittee, and I had emailed Amy this week after visiting the Northland Library and checking out an adventure backpack for my daughter. So I put together this adventure backpack for the Heritage Center. And inside is the book of McCandless history that Toby and the group put together back in 2001 for the 150th anniversary. I also had a copy of the first Hidden Heritage that we did. So I included that in there. And again, these are all this is a starting point. I redid the scavenger hunt inside the Heritage Center. So it draws people into the Heritage Center to see. And then Ann and I just today printed out or took pictures of McCandless map from 1940. And we thought it would be fun to put dots on the map showing where the library is, where the Heritage Center is, where the high school is, things that did not exist at the time that this map was recorded. And I think it'd be fun for kids to see, you know, oh, my house used to be on a farmland, or, you know, my school is here. So we're gonna do a little bit more work on that, but the goal with the subcommittee of the library would be to put one of these backpacks in not only the Northland Library, but also the surrounding libraries, the Shaler Library, Diane's Library, things like that, to bring people in. The third would be community outreach and group tours. Like I said, I met with Jack Sheehan today to create a tour for children. And Cheryl Jehovich, another one of our volunteers, she was a tour guide with Lenzner Tours in her retirement, and she has volunteered to put together a tour geared towards adults. So after creating those two tours, this subcommittee would market the tours to local organizations who would come and pay a suggested donation to hear those tours. So those targeted groups would be alumni groups, school groups, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, nursing homes, you know, all kinds of things. The fourth one is operations. Manage day-to-day operations, exhibit planning and execution, volunteer coordination, retention, referrals and recruitment, and object care and accessioning. In that, I would like to plan a volunteer appreciation event and price out some Heritage Center shirts or some sort of like thank you to the volunteers to show that we all are on the same team. Because I think sometimes with this group and our volunteers, with the exception of Georgette and Suzanne, not a lot of our volunteers come to this meeting. So it would be nice to get us all together and really, you know, make sure that we're all on the same team. Visitor database. So the database we use for the annual appeal in 2021 is out of date. It would also be nice to have access to more of the town's email list for some advertising as well. And this person might also be helpful in maybe advocating the town to accept online payments, which would again increase our annual appeal rather than just doing it in person via check. So events and presentations. Some sort of quality control or vetting of presenters and content is necessary. Our major events in conjunction with the town, like the anniversary party, Community Day, Winterfest, should all have a Heritage Center point person to make sure that we are involved adequately in the planning of those events. And this person may also need to attend the activities committee or planning meetings outside of this group. So I thought that there are 6 of these subcommittees or tasks, initiatives, and I thought it would be good for each member of this committee to take on one of these. I don't want to assign them, but I sort of geared them towards each of your strong suits. Obviously, I have been taking on a lot of the operations, so I'm more than willing to continue doing that. Marketing was meant for Kevin to make a new pamphlet advertising. The library obviously has Diane Illis written all over it. And as far as community outreach or events and presentations, Joe and Dan, if you want to fight it out over those. And then Ron, the computer man.
Oh, okay.
I thought maybe you'd have an interest in the visitor database, but again,
Okay.
I don't want to assign anything to anybody.
I'll tell you what, you can have community outreach and I'll take events and presentations.
Okay, I was gonna do it the other way around, but yeah.
Well,
I think you're more of a guy, you got more community connections than I do.
That's fine, whatever you want to do.
That's why I think it'd be more natural and yeah, I could.
That's fine.
yeah.
I'll take community outreach.
I'll check the database.
You will?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. And again, these are all collaborative things as well. So I would like to see a lot more of our regular volunteers on our current volunteer list participate in these subcommittees too. For example, the group tours. I've already got Cheryl and Jack working on those things. So there are support systems or people ready to support. As Suzanne said before, people, like to have something to do. They don't volunteer because they don't see that, they want to contribute something. So we have a lot of different people with different backgrounds and strengths that are able to contribute valuable things. And we just have
Would-
to ask to do it.
Would coming to these meetings be enough information for those people, or should you have a special volunteer meeting so that I think people don't know what's going on in the, you thought of a lot of things that need done.
Mhm.
And it'd be nice to let the people know that, gee, you could do this while you're not doing anything.
Yes, yeah, no, definitely. I think, now that we've had this conversation, I would like to, I have a pretty good idea of our regular volunteers and what their strengths are. So what they may be interested in contributing. So now that each category has a point person, I will point those volunteers towards that person. So.
And
Yeah.
Randy, I know you. Oh, go ahead.
I think the point of the subcommittees are to have us meet with our subcommittees and then come back and report to the
Yes,
committee of the whole.
yes. Carolyn?
Oh, yeah, and I was just going to add that Abby, you and I had talked about the possibility of maybe doing another volunteer training. I do think it's good to have an opportunity for the volunteers, even if not all of them can make it, to just have a day where it's kind of like a state of the McCandless Heritage Center type of event where they get the information that we tend to get on a regular basis, just so that they're in the loop with everything too.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that you can't reach out ahead and get them involved with the committees, but it's the idea of creating a good community.
Yeah, definitely.
That's good. And also everyone know where, like you said, you have the paperwork up and everyone know where that is. So we'll get donations and stuff like that.
Right.
Because I know, like I donated a few things, didn't fill out. I guess I didn't realize there was some other paperwork that I still haven't filled out. I need to fill it out. So, yeah. And so.
Yes, yeah, no, I think having not only a volunteer appreciation event, but also like a mini volunteer training would be very valuable to do. Does anybody else have anything on that?
Expanding our reach with volunteers. I'm talking with the people at North Allegheny to
No.
get the National Honor Society kids and
Yeah.
kids that have
Yes,
projects. I didn't know if you wanted to go over that now or you wanted to wait till we have that little bit
go
more
ahead.
form.
Yeah, yeah.
As Abby said, we met last Sunday and we're gonna meet again this Sunday. We came up with some ideas about, broadening the reach. And, we're talking about bringing all these little kids in, okay? Whether you be a Cub Scout or a Girl Scout or, the mini Indian chase or whatever it is. The point of what I'm going to tell you is little kids love to hear from big kids. That being said, broadening our reach within the community is going to take a few steps. And one of those steps that we identified on Sunday was getting kids from the senior high involved in the Heritage Center. Whether they have graduation projects or National Honor Society projects, starting to get those people involved in the Heritage Center. You know, let's face it, Pepsi and Coke don't focus on you and me, Toby. They focus on 17 and 18-year-olds. Okay. We want this thing to thrive long after we have passed. If we're going to do that, we need to make sure that the foundation for the future is built very well. In order to do that, we need to concentrate on getting younger people involved.
I think it's a great idea to bring senior school students in who are honors students. Maybe they're doing some sort of a senior project,
Senior
whatever it
project.
might be, to be in there, to get involved in the center, and also especially when we have kids. And you're right. I mean, little kids love to hear from the older kids.
And, you know, to what we were talking about here earlier with Carolyn, some of that training, I almost feel like we ought to create a mini docent training for the Heritage Center. So we get the high school kids and maybe even some middle school kids involved in understanding what we're doing here, why we're doing it, and how we do it.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yep.
That's why you're the community outreach.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, Abby,
Yeah.
this is Amy. When you were talking about the marketing committee, I was just curious. I know I see, I think John over there, are press releases for exhibits and events, are those all handled through the town, or is that something that this committee would help with? I'm thinking in particular about like the hat exhibit, and to get a reporter down there to take some pictures and let people know that that's there.
I mean, traditionally I've done it, but you know, if the committee
Okay.
can take it, that would be great.
I was more worried about stepping on your toes, John.
Yeah.
John's telling me something.
I
Whoever
think
gets
John's
there
foot
first.
is way out of the way. I don't think
Okay.
anybody's stepping on his toes anymore.
You know, it'd be great if we could get somebody down there for the hat exhibit, but I really think that we should contact the newspapers about the whatever we do for the anniversary. I think that
For sure.
is really, I think, the
But
key.
Yeah.
think
And
you-
the hat
And
thing
that's
will
the
be
thing.
up during the anniversary thing too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think like at the library, you know, we have a list of reporters, newsletters, that kind of thing, and we'll send sort of a monthly, here's what's going on kind of thing. So they
Mhm.
get used to hearing from you, they get used to seeing your information, and you know, you can't always guarantee that they'll use it or do something with it. And sometimes you might want to, if something's really a big deal, maybe pull that out as a separate thing. But then sometimes you know, they get used to you having interesting things, and when they have a slow day, they'll call you up and say, "What's going on?" you know. So that has worked out, you know, in some cases. In other cases, there's something you think is a great thing and they don't bite on it, but you know, it helps develop those relationships with those folks.
Yeah, that was what my intention was with that committee, is to, because I read the North Journal and the magazines that are in the doctor's office, and I don't really ever see anything about the Heritage Center.
And, you know, to your point, not so much the North Journal, but the I guess it's the Northern Suburbs magazine that's in the doctor's offices. We could actually do a monthly thing in there.
Okay.
We could actually have an article. Joe Bullock did it.
Right.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
So we could actually have a monthly newsletter that gets published in that document or in that magazine.
Joe
see-
Bullock always wrote up a monthly letter.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. there's in that-
And we used to get a lot of coverage in the North Journal when Tony LaRussa was covering this area, and Tony has kind of shifted to another area, although every now and then he comes up with something about North Park. So, he's not totally, out of the area, but there's another woman, Natalie, and I forget her last name. It starts with a B, but she's been covering some things for the library, and I think she would be a good one to reach out to she does work with the Trib, so she's.
Yeah, there's another one too, Amy, Joanne Harrop, Klimovich. I knew her when she was only Joanne Harrop. She has taken over some of the area, and you're right, Tony has moved on to the political pages.
Right.
He's covering town councils and he's covering school boards.
okay.
So where are we on the agenda?
Well, we are. Oh, we've run away from the agenda. Let's see.
You know what, though? It's all good.
Oh, yeah.
It's all
Yeah,
good stuff.
yeah. So I'm glad to hear that all of you. Well, this is news to just Dawn, because these two already knew about it.
Yeah.
That you're excited about that idea. Let's see, open and miscellaneous topics.
Yeah, I wanted to just tell everybody that last week I spoke to a member, I sat with the Odd Fellows. Was that?
Nothing.
Oh. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the Odd Fellows. They're a group, they're
Yeah.
sort of like a Sonic
Yeah.
group, but they're.
Some guy told me about this on Sunday.
Anyway, so I sat with this, small group of about 7 folks who met at a church in town, and they have a very interesting history. It goes back to 17th century England and 18th century out here. They formed a benevolent society, and it's all over the country. They used to take care of orphans. So it was a big thing that they did. They built all over the country. There's these huge buildings. There's one in Meadville that were orphanages, and they were all Oddfellow orphanages. And when I did a little bit of research on it, what interested me was, I thought maybe Joe's, maybe Fitzpatrick or something, one of these Oddfellows, because he took Joe on. But I don't think there is a connection there. But it's still an interesting little bit of history for the North Hills, because it's been around for hundreds of years. And so I spoke with them, learned a little bit about who they are and what they do. And they don't do as much as they used to, but again, it's a very interesting history. And I'm going to sit one of them down. Guy has been a member for 67 years, and I'm going to elicit some of the history from him about the Oddfellows in this area, and I'll do it on camera. He's agreed to sit down for a little interview. And so and I'm going to use I think I'll use the Heritage Center for that. So I hope if you see some car in there, Strange Times, probably me doing because it turned out it's a great place to shoot an interview. When I did Steve Bullock, and it's and I learned it's a really great place to do that, because there's no noise.
Nice and quiet.
Yeah, nice and quiet. Yeah, which is
good
the most
lighting.
important thing. The most important thing is sound and that type of stuff. But anyway, so I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm doing that, and pursuing some other oral history from the area that I hope to put into our library, put into our archive somehow, and make available for folks. So.
Okay.
It's a really cool project.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Like I said before, me and Joe and Dan met on Sunday, and we also have plans to review our mission statement and strategic plan, and basically our core documents. I spoke with Carolyn too, as our consultant, and she suggested that it's good to review those sorts of things every 3 to 5 years. So that would probably fit within our 5-year timeline here. with examining the possibility of doing a 501c3 at some point in the future. That would open us up to a lot more funding and grants, and a lot more growth and possibility. So
It's surprising when reading through the existing documents, it clearly states in there that the town will allow for that to happen. So I'm very excited about the possibilities of, actually charting a course to where we are less and less dependent upon the town.
yeah, I think this is the time to do it. These past 2 years, it's been, up and down and sideways. But I think we're at a turning point where we could, see a little bit of growth in the future, and become a more structured organization
And more relevant,
yeah.
more
So,
relevant to the community.
I've invited Carolyn to sit down with us on Sunday too,
Oh, great.
because she does have experience.
She's
and
bringing the donuts.
She better.
I'm kidding, I don't eat donuts.
If I may, the comment about, you made, Joe, about the dependence on the town. Really keep in mind that the amount of support from the town is really utilities and just keeping the door open, the lights on. It's just, if you look at the budget, it never topped $12,000-13,000 when I was on active duty. So the point, hang on. The point is that I wouldn't worry about trying to cut into that meager amount that the town is actually spending on an annual basis. But the fundraising and all the things that the goals and so forth of the presence and of the facility and maybe ultimately funding the sign or partially funding the sign of signs that just keeps on fading away. But the point is, I think, is to augment what the bare minimum that the town does with programs and other activities that we can do. So that's it. I'm not sermonizing, but I just keep in mind that we're not getting much money from the town.
Yeah, I get that, but rather than taking money from the town, maybe we can give back to the town. And that's where we are. I'm not just talking with figuratively through our events and things of that nature.
Oh, sure.
I'm talking about financially. Having the ability to form a 501(c)(3) puts us in a different position altogether.
No, you don't want to do that. Don't do that.
You don't own the property that
You
the
don't do
building
that.
is located on, so that would be
yeah.
difficult
It's a
to
municipal
have a
facility.
separate organization located on town property and using a town parking lot.
It's
Yeah.
it's totally a municipal facility, Joe. I wouldn't want to go
If
there.
I could jump in here.
I don't think it's prudent.
If I could jump in here, I had a conversation, and it wasn't even meant for the purpose of McCandless. It was on something completely different, but it was a woman who is the executive director at Asbury Woods, who had a similar situation. They were owned by a school district, and they did something similar to, I know Amy has the sort of Friends of Northland Library type of, or Northland Library Foundation, but they had a Friends of Asbury Woods, and that organization, the Friends of, was able to support the full-time staff that did the programming. It was able to support some of the fundraising efforts. And so she's more than happy to be a resource to us. And so I think it's at least worth exploring the option of being able to augment through a 501c3 from someone who's done it and knows the challenges and struggles and both the positives and negatives.
Well, what's going to happen with another entity like that is it's inevitable is the aspect of control. So just be on guard for that. Watch. I'm right before taking any steps at all toward that direction. My advice is this: that we do that cautiously, And if that were to happen, make sure that the mission is clear and that it's to the kind of things that Carolyn just mentioned to help subsidize, or maybe well, we already talked. I mean, I talked about those as well. Subsidize that, but not get involved in the ownership or that they are, because you're going to become the
Right.
FDPC. Then will become obsolete, and you'll end up getting superseded by the 501c3. Just make sure that to go in that direction, the town council is going to have to make sure they're happy with that. They are the board of directors, and so I just I think what's laudable about what we do, what this group does, is to preserve our heritage and show our heritage, and and volunteer to keep the place going, and programs and all the good things that we've really kind of, for the last 5 years now, we've really gotten rolling. And you have great ideas to keep things rolling better, including, I haven't heard anything about the negligent North Hills this time. Is Diane going to do a negligent North Hills, or?
Notorious.
Notorious, yeah.
Come on, I'm trying to make light. I hear myself talking and it sounds
Notoriously negligent.
like I can't stay serious for more than like 2.5 minutes, man. So. But anyway, so end of minor comments, but it's just careful. All the things that Abby laid out with the couple of the board members that met, just it's okay. That's good. That's what this entity was created to do.
And Toby, I don't think that we're trying to branch off and become our own super entity here. I think that all of us are of like mind, that we don't want to take anything away from the municipality. We don't. If anything, forming a 501(c)(3) or giving us another vehicle by which we can raise money, we can give the town some of the things that are desperately needed, like signage at the Heritage Center or signage elsewhere. Okay. I don't know about you, but
That's off mission, Joe.
what
I think you got to stay on mission. That's just my comment.
then even if we stay on mission, we still need signage for our own heritage.
Oh
Center.
yeah, that's on mission. But signage around the town is, I'm not sure that's on mission.
Okay, but my whole point is this, is that, you started this thing with some other people and you had a vision. Okay. We're 5 years into this thing. You have some different people, the vision changes. Okay.
I'm not saying anything to the contrary. I'm just talking about the specific point about the role that the FDPC was given and who the board of directors is. And again, if there is change in the offing, that's a point of discussion that I think those of us who are interested should weigh in. That's all I'm doing. If we don't agree, then we don't agree. But I don't think we disagree, except we got to be careful to stay on point of heritage, I think.
Oh, I agree with you, but my vision is different than probably anybody's up here. I mean, I want to go after monies and put a social hall off of the center that can be utilized for gatherings. Okay,
well,
that's way down the road, Toby, and that's way out.
I'll be following that if that ever gets any traction.
You know what? That's the only way that dreams come true is that you dream them in the first place.
Okay, well, there's good dreams and then there's better dreams and all kinds of dreams. So okay, hey, so is Diane going to do Notorious again, or whatever, Nefarious, or whatever she's going to call it this time?
I think she does intend to. Yeah.
I think she wants to.
The earlier one gets the booking for, and she knows that, and so she's not here to speak about it, but
yeah.
So I hope she can go out and get that rolling, because I think that's a wonderful event.
Don't they only open the permitting in April 15th?
I don't know. I don't
I
think so.
thought it was a calendar year from the date.
I thought so too.
Oh,
It
okay.
just, it's just a reminder that she knows if she's really busy and all that. Just, John, you may want to give her a nudge on that.
I'm not trying to beat a dead horse here, but I don't think the intention is to bite the hand that feeds us, so to speak, with, you know, cutting our arm off, separating from the town. But I think we take this as a planning year to really show not only town council, but this committee and our volunteers that like we really are a strong group that can put out, you know, great content and presentations and exhibitions and bring in school groups. That's the vision
Sure.
that I see. So I don't necessarily think that, you know, the 501c3 is obviously going to happen overnight, but exploring the possibility of opening other avenues to bring in funding to do more programming is really the intention behind exploring that possibility.
Okay.
And in re-examining the strategic plan and the mission statement and all that, you know, certainly doesn't hurt to make sure that we are going down the right path as a group. So
Yeah, it should be. I think it's in the document that it should be updated or at least reviewed every 3 to 5 years.
yeah. So
Of course. That's all good
There-
stuff.
And I think I think we need to establish all those things that you just, you know, listed and explained in our plan. I think that's excellent, Abby. Hearing Toby and having some experience with groups like Carolyn was discussing, I would just caution that we need to tread very cautiously and carefully on that front. Bringing in an outside friends of group might be a better way to go. And I'm saying might because in my head, I'm already hearing pros and cons, pros and cons, pros and cons. Because as Toby said, the mission for that, you know, adjacent or adjunct group would need to be clear. And what you need is a memorandum of understanding between the organizations so that the roles are very clear, that the, you know, at this point, you know, the town owns the facility, they created it, it's on town property. And as Toby has said, the town council is the board. So, you know, operations and all of that goes through them. May be able to designate, you know, the pure fundraising role to an ancillary group, which maybe opens up opportunities for grants on just, you know, some of the fundraising. But you have to very, very clearly from the outset, before any additional groups are formed, establish that legal document of memorandum of understanding. There are a lot of legal issues that fall into these kinds of entities, both good and not so good, because you can't begin to imagine now what some of those issues might be down the road. There are examples of them out there for these kinds of groups with their parent organizations, and you just need to tread very carefully. There's a lot of legal issues that you can get into because, as Toby said, there's control and then there's money. And, you know, enough said on that, so.
Can I ask one question, and maybe with Toby here? If we increase our funding, that funding comes in, how much of it stays with the Heritage Center, or does it all go back to the township? When we bring in funding?
There's a document, when the FDPC founding document talks about pro rata funding, how that should be revisited. Off the top of my head, I'm remembering that 50% of the money we bring in needs to go to maintenance of the building. Someday the building's going to need a roof and that kind of thing. So that I just don't have that document. That's the kind of thing, since I had hundreds of documents around me all the time, and even though this one I fell deeply in love with, I still, I can't recall exactly how that works right now. So John
Was it
should have a copy of that
50-50?
handy.
I'm remembering 50-50, but I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
but
accurate.
but there's some specifics on the 50-50 part. I think 50-50 went, you know, the 50% went to the town, so the town could squirrel away money to fix the roof someday or whatever, or the boiler. And the other 50% went to help with programming and so forth. But just double check the actual specific. That's what the documents are there for. I mean, they are core documents, and you're absolutely right. This is, you know, there's some new direction and energy and so forth. And please don't think for a second that I'm knocking that at all. I'm you know, when Joe came, he sat at my conference table crying and said they're going to throw me out. I said, well, I'll talk to town council. He said, bless your heart. So here we are. So we, you know, we did this, you know, so much of it, the cost of it was built by volunteers, contractors and so forth. And the raw costs to the town was less than $250,000 to build a building that was appraised at. The building itself is a town building. You don't have to worry about that at all. That's town. It's the town's building. But 5 years ago, it was appraised at $880,000. And the amount of money that was paid to build. But that's all about the building. The building's there. It's a great building, and it's really a neat thing. But the soaring as you're taking off, the flight continues. This is just, we're talking about the next chapter, the 2022 chapter, and it's just. And sometimes caution sounds like it's not. It's certainly not a chastisement at all. It's just the word caution is just to be aware. Whatever movement would take place involving another committee or another entity, is that even before the documents are drafted, is started at the rudiments of what is the purpose, the mission of that entity, their objectives and so forth, how they're going to conduct themselves, and all that starts getting put together into another set of core documents, which I'm sure Carolyn can help us with too.
Okay, public comment.
Hey, on a really happy note,
Yes.
the article that was in the little trib paper in the North Hills, what's it called now?
North Journal.
North Journal, about George Washington following the path of Pine Creek. The woman who wrote that article, she might be somebody, since we're on the building, really, we drain into Pine Creek. So we're still contributing to Pine Creek, and will continue as long as that building's there. So that's something that somebody wants to explore about.
It was in the most North Journal. I didn't see that.
Georgia brought the article. She tore the article out of the paper that we got here and put it in the center.
Oh, good. Okay.
I have one at home here.
It's on the desk. It's on, Georgette said it's on the desk.
Okay.
It's a cool article, well written. Really, it was, you know, I happened to catch the headline, you know, George Washington walked here kind of thing. And I used to joke about that, and people thought I was just kidding around, but this woman has done some additional research, and additional research is being done to see when he and Christopher Gist, when they embarked on going up into what we see now as North Hills in southern Butler County, the route that he took one way up to around Butler, south of Butler, and I can't remember the name of the town.
Benango.
What was it?
Benango.
Well, there was another name. It was something town. But anyway, the point is, once they got there and winter was really settling in, they had to take a different route. And that different route just might have been right below the Heritage Center, that part of Pine Creek. Because in order to get to where Etna is today, that was the goal. That's where the rapids on the Allegheny were the best place for pooling of the water to get across, because they had to get across the Allegheny River to go south back to Virginia. So anyway, it's a really cool article
Yeah.
and just another possibility for some a little bit more research, some history, and then just contact with this woman to see if she's interested in talking about all this.
I do remember seeing that article now that she put on the desk, and I put it somewhere and I don't know where I put it, but it's there somewhere, so I'll look again.
Well, if you can't find it, maybe the journal would be able to have it in their archives electronically or something, just to get it, to retrieve it. It would, again, it's just pretty darn cool. That's the kind of thing it actually probably might even want to, I don't know if you want to display it, but there's a cool map along that shows Washington's roots.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'll definitely take a look into it and see.
Okay. All right, anyone else?
Yep.
No? Trish?
Maybe, we were talking about volunteers, and I know our junior council person just recently spoke of the need for volunteer opportunities for young people, especially since COVID.
Yes.
And speaking as a mom of a 17-year-old looking to fill out applications, et cetera,
Mhm.
it's a definite need that they have, which can then in turn fit your needs. But one thing, working with young people, you can't just say, come down to the Heritage Center and volunteer. It has to be, we need 8 people Saturday at 10, and let them fight to sign up, and they will, as long as someone's signing off on their paperwork that they need that day. But it has to be very clear parameters for them, but they will take it once it's known. So whenever we make that call for volunteers, just to have a very, very specific activity,
Okay.
time frame, et cetera, for them.
I already have a mental list of like 5
You'll
things.
get 'em.
Yes. So, okay. Well, maybe I'll send, I made a volunteer application, actually based off the activities committee application,
Right.
last year.
And
So,
I made that based on what I saw at other communities and stuff like
Right.
that as a standard.
yeah, so I'll send that to you, and then, if you could connect me with the junior council person, that'd be great.
Yeah, because I know, like my daughter in particular, she, between her sporting, like she's an athlete, she's a student athlete, and so she just needs some very specific time slots.
Mhm.
You know, to your point, Nate Tengowski, who is the person in charge of the National Honor Society at the high school, he said the same thing. He said, you don't leave any ambiguity
Yeah.
for the kids. You have to be very specific, because you will get people, you will get probably more people than you need.
Mhm.
But if it's ambiguous, it said, you know, the kids, if it's ambiguous, you're not telling the kids what they're getting out of it.
Yep.
Okay. If there's not anything else, then I
Can I make a motion?
to adjourn
Can I
this
make a
meeting.
motion to adjourn the meeting?
All in favor?
I,
You have to second it. I'll
You
second
second
it.
it?
Second it. I second it.
Aye.
for the second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
I have to rush out.